The problem is, see, when you have a third party that's brokering a peace deal,
Mhm.
whether it was, going all the way back to Jimmy Carter when he brokered the deal between Egypt and Israel, and won the Nobel Peace Prize for that. That person is supposed to be a neutral arbiter. The problem that is we are not. We are putting more demands on Zelensky as part of this peace deal for us than Putin is. So when you add everything that Putin wants, no NATO, no arms shipments to Ukraine, cut off all aid to Ukraine, give up all the eastern provinces, give up Crimea, along with a host of other things. Obviously, he wants them to stop bombing his power plants because Ukrainian drones are absolutely decimating Russian power plants and oil refineries. So he wants that too. And then you add to that all the things that Trump wants from Ukraine. In the readout from his phone call today with Zelensky this morning, there was something new in there. I mean, we already know that he wants them to sign over 50% of their mineral rights to us. Why? Why should the United States get mineral rights? Okay, the argument from MAGA would be they owe us money for because we provided the military aid. They need to pay us back. Okay, well, that wasn't part of the original deal, but even Zelensky is like, all right, fine, we'll work something out. But then they added something new today, Trump did, which is he wants Ukraine to turn over all of their power plants, their nuclear plants, and all of their power plants, give them to the United States, not even just have the United States run them and operate them. No, we will own all of the power plants in your country. So you're Zelensky, you're like, Putin wants all of this. The United States wants all of this. What do I get? I mean, it's just absolutely outrageous that Trump is on the side of Putin in these negotiations, which is painfully obvious. And our demands arguably are even worse than Putin's.
Ron, where do you inevitably see this going? I know that he spoke to Zelensky today, as you said. Where do you see this going? I mean, do you think eventually there will be a ceasefire? Do you think eventually Zelensky is going, I hate to use the term cave in, but eventually cave in somewhat so that Putin gets some land and that no more innocent people die? Like, where do you see this thing going in the next week, in the next month?
Okay, well, Zelensky wants a complete ceasefire, and that's the agreement that he already signed, which is no more fighting, no more killing, no more bombing. So Putin's counteroffer is a quote unquote limited ceasefire. And the Trump administration's take on this is, oh, this is progress. We're getting somewhere now. Putin has agreed to a limited ceasefire. What does Putin want? He wants a limited ceasefire on energy infrastructure and ships in the Black Sea. Well, Ukraine doesn't have ships in the Black Sea. Okay. So in other words, the two areas where Ukraine is hurting Russia the most, they've decimated Russia's Black Sea fleet. Okay. Naval fleet. And they've decimated their power, their oil refineries, and their energy infrastructure because Ukraine has developed their own drones, not the United States, their own drones that they're manufacturing that are carrying out strikes on Russian power plants that are devastating. So Putin says, okay, well, I'm willing to agree to a ceasefire on those two things. No more attacks in the Black Sea. There's nothing they control the Black Sea, not Ukraine. And no more attacks on power plants. Well, the only successful attacks on power plants for the 90% are Ukraine to Russia. So again, it's just like so obviously bogus, but no one in the US government will say that. They're all saying, oh, yes, this is wonderful. We're making progress with Putin.
Well, Caroline Levitt, we'll get to her press conference in a bit, but remember her statement, Ron, where she says, well, we're at the 10-yard line of peace. What is it, the other 10-yard line that she was talking about? Is it our own 10-yard line? Like, I don't understand these statements that the White House constantly makes, in this case, claiming that they're so close to a peace deal when I think you could make the argument that the opposite is true right now.
Because it's not going to happen. It's not going to happen anytime soon. because Putin knows that he can play Trump. And so this is why I've been predicting for weeks, this is going to blow up and they're going to blame Zelensky. And of course, Putin's going to blame Zelensky, but Trump is going to blame Zelensky. And so how do I see this playing out? I mean, unfortunately, the way I see this playing out is that Zelensky is just going to have to walk away. Trump might throw a temper tantrum, cut off aid. And the Europeans right now are ramping up their arms production and their military aid like exponentially. France, Germany, all the European countries, because they see this happen. They see this falling apart. They don't see any kind of peace deal or ceasefire. That's why they're spending a tremendous amount of money. And by the way, these European countries used to buy billions of dollars of military equipment from U.S. companies, and they have already just said they are spending zero, not $1 in the United States. So where they normally would spend hundreds of billions of dollars with companies like Lockheed Martin and others, they are not going to spend anything with us.
And Ron, while all this is going on, and obviously this is the most not the most important topic, hockey and Vladimir Putin, but I do find it interesting that they're showing clips of him scoring 8 goals yesterday. And I find it very similar to Donald Trump when he says that he won the club championship. I think these two have that in common, don't they? Where everybody seems to coddle to them. And you got this guy Putin scoring goals against the USA and Donald Trump apparently shooting a 65 on the golf course.
Yeah. I mean, they're different people, but they're very similar in many respects, because I think that Putin is more like calculate, but they're very simple. I mean, similar because you watch a Putin interview and it's just like rambling nonsense where he just goes on and goes off on tangents and doesn't let the interviewer interrupt him. Very similar to Trump in that respect, and just lies and just makes up an alternative version of history. I mean, Putin will give you an entire version of like Eastern European history that's 90% fiction. If you sit there and let him do it, which he does do. And he uses a translator, even though he speaks English, he uses a translator when he talks to Trump because he doesn't want Trump to interrupt him. So he can give these long speeches, which is why their phone call took an hour and a half. It wasn't, I guarantee you, an hour and 10 minutes of that was Putin talking and Trump listening. But yeah, the golf thing, I mean, it's very similar. They both have to project this. They're both weak men who need to project strength. I mean, it's the strong man thing. We're invincible. We're so alpha male. We're so strong, even though they're both soft weaklings. And so, Putin is always putting out these videos of him doing all these athletic feats. Same thing with Kim Jong-un does the same kind of thing. Muammar Gaddafi did it. Saddam Hussein did it. And Donald Trump does it. Yeah, Donald Trump supposedly won his 27th club championship this past weekend in golf. And again, these are not senior club. He's 78 years old. These are not senior club champions where he's competing against over 50. He's saying that he's beating 20-year-olds, 30-year-olds. And by the way, this is like Trump National Golf Club. There are scratch golfers and below that are members there. And he's claiming that he beats all of them all the time.
I'd be willing to bet if Donald Trump had to carry his own bag for 18 holes, he wouldn't be able to break 100. But that's my personal opinion. And you showed the video and others of mocking Trump, and he deserves it, of him shanking a golf ball 30 yards away from a green, but yet claiming he won a club championship.